Hello. So I want to spend a little bit of time reflecting on chapter 2, and this video is created with that intention. Let's go ahead and take a look at the textbook here. If I share my screen, hopefully we can get past the Zoom. Here we go. This is the meat and potatoes, I guess you would say, or crux of the chapter. If I want you to take one thing away from chapter 2, I'm trying to cut to the chase to simplify time. I want you to take away this, the levels of measurement. This is very important when you consider later on in the course. This is going to become very important because when you consider the type of statistics that you're going to actually run with your different scales of measurement, it's important because the different scale of measurement that you use will determine and dictate which statistical procedure you choose. So get this right now. Nominal scales of measurement, I go over this in the other video. It's basically naming something. It's categorizing something. So this is page 36 of your textbook. I think biological sex or gender, or you could go through political party. You could category. Basically, these are categories. I like to refer them into my own mind. Besides just nominal or naming, I use that mnemonic. Think of categories. You're just categorizing information, just naming it. And so like if I were gonna set out I don't know about colors of car. You don't have I mean, I guess you could put a spectrum of cars out, with different colors. But like if you're gonna say how many people have a blue car, how many people have a red car or gray car, those are categories. Those aren't like continuous. You can't say, I mean, people could rank their favorite colors, but you can't say just, that red is higher than gray. Or I hope that makes sense. And so these are basically categories, and this is the least descriptive of all data that we can have. And so you're really limited then later what you can do statistically with nominal data. I ran into that with my dissertation, and we'll talk about that later. The next scale is ordinal or rank. You can rank order something. So if we all ran a race and 10 of us, we came in first, second, third, all the way down to 10th. You can order rank us. You can do this with classification. So folks that are a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, you can put those in an order. That's a little bit more descriptive. You can do a little bit more statistically, run different statistical procedures with order, and that becomes important later on. Interval is interval and ratio. When you get into statistical um, programming and statistical procedures, these two oftentimes are lumped together because you can do quite a bit statistically speaking with these. They get into a lot more description, and therefore you can you can do more with them. The big thing is in ratio, you have an absolute zero. In interval, it's basically you have regular intervals that you can measure out. The textbook does a good job here. Temperature, I guess you could say, well, you have an absolute zero with Celsius. Well, no, because you can go below zero. There is no absence of temperature. So you can't have an absence of something in interval ratio. The textbook earlier on talks about Thorndike and the ability to spell with a student, and the student getting a zero on a test. Well, I bet this student could spell me or I. There's not. I mean, I guess there is the possibility that they couldn't. But that's kind of thinking. There is no true absence of something with interval scale. With ratio, you can have a distance of zero. If you have 1 point and you try to measure that's zero. So having distance or time, you can also have no time. Hypothetically, you can have a time of zero. So ratio scale is the most descriptive. That's all I want you to get. I'll pause there with and so if you're like bored with the lecture, you can turn it off. If you're wanting to be a statistician, if you're wanting to go on, I think this next portion is pretty important. And this is what I did as a doctoral student. I chose a different textbook because I wanted to simplify it a bit from what I was asked to do as a doctoral student. But your textbook contains this, it talks about technical impact appendix, R syntax. These are basically data files. These are dummy data files that your textbook has. So it allows you to take this. And so I have access to this as an instructor. You should too, as a student buying the textbook. And you can see that if I go to my instructor resources, it's got data sets. And these data sets are to be used with exercises in the book. I'll release these to you. If you don't have access to the website, I'll release these to you. So I'm downloading them. If you download them, it looks like this. You've got data sets for different chapters, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. And what that is, it's if you load this into a statistical program, you will be able to run statistics to kind of see what this looks like if you're actually trying to compute these things. I think this is an important next step for those of you that are actually going to do stats. So again, I talked about in my previous lecture about my difficulty between the MCP and MGP students. If you're an MGP student, I would encourage you to download these data sets. I'll release another video where I take you through, and most of us have Excel. Most of you should have Excel with your student account at Northwestern, even if you don't have Microsoft. And Excel steps you into statistical procedures. You can do a lot with Excel. You could actually program it to run all of the things that we're going to do, although it's not it's so robust, it's not very user friendly. It takes years to understand Excel and run all the things that are in it. And there are statistical programs. One is called IBM SPSS, and I use that. That's generally the standard version that's used if you go to different institutions. We use that here at Northwestern. If you run statistics with me, that's the I know you have to pay money. We'll talk a little. So I don't want people to have to pay money and download it here. So that's why we're using Excel. Dr. Farrell tried to use a program, if you took a class from him, called Jamovi. And Jamovi's at open access, but again, it's a learning curve of trying to figure out, okay, what do you do there? There are multiple tutorials on YouTube on how to use SPSS. There are textbooks that are built. My textbook was built around in college learning or PhD school learning, to do stats with SPSS. I know that's kind of a monopoly for IBM. It has been for 30 or 40 years, but I don't recognize an easy way around it when you're talking about software, because then it's this whole other class learning this software platform. I don't want to do that here. It's hard enough to learn about statistics, right? Because oh my gosh, I'm just trying to, to pay attention and make sure that, I get a grade in the class. So I'm not going to do all that stuff. But if you're going on, if you're going to get a PhD, I would strongly encourage you to just to wade into the waters with these data sets a bit, and I'll help you with another video. So anyway, I won't go on any further. I look forward to our discussion for here, chapter 3. Take care.